Hey guys, welcome to Box Office Addict, my weekly live stream podcast where I break down the weekend numbers and have a free-form discussion with the chat. Episode 78. All right, let's just say we're gonna dedicate the majority of this episode, like a big chunk of it, to the record-breaking performance of Avengers Endgame. If you want to see my thoughts on the movie, I have a review up from yesterday. Shit. I mean, I don't even know what I am supposed to say. I don't even know I'm supposed to really put into words like how big this opening is and how significant it is and how I don't see another movie opening like this. I'm not usually super shocked by a movie opening well. You know, I've seen crazy openings before. Infinity War's opening was crazy, but expected from what we knew after Force Awakens and what we had seen with Jurassic World, that movies could open over 200 million. Thinking that a film could open to 300 million was something a lot of us thought was possible if enough people went to the theater. I didn't think something would just blow it out of the water like 357 million. I never really thought a number that big was going to be very achievable. It all still seems kind of like crazy, like impossible, just how well this opened. But let's look at some other films real quick before we really dive into it, because we're gonna have to go through a lot of history with that one to try to understand it. Hellboy continues to be a bomb from director Neil Marshall, only 21 mil domestic, not good. Us by Jordan Peele is still a hit. It's not making as much as Get Out, even though it had a much bigger opening weekend of 71 million. It's at 173 million. Get Out did 177, I believe. 176. And you gotta think, this is like, that means this had pretty big drops. 53, 58, 50, yeah, and then this one's 71, yeah, because this film should have made over $200 million domestic. Don't get me wrong, it's still got great reviews, and it's made $250 million on $20 million budget, but the reviews weren't as good, and the word of mouth to me seems much more mixed than you might believe from the media, and this is only doing about Get Out business, which is fine. This is still a huge hit, but with the drop-off in box office slightly here, and the Twilight Zone not being very well received, maybe Jordan Peele needs to be a little bit careful of early burnout, because we have seen this happen before. Pet Sematary continues to disappoint domestically, 52 mil domestic, 100 million worldwide, though on a $21 million budget, but not performing above your average horror flick. With just how well Stephen King stuff's been doing the last few years, you think this would have done a little bit better. Dumbo continues to be a big bomb from Tim Burton, 107 mil domestic, 328 million worldwide, but with that $170 million budget in marketing, I'm guessing they needed 500 million to break even on that one. Shazam is dropping a little bit at the box office with a $100 million budget. Should be able to make 150 million, 160 million, do Ant-Man money. Worldwide, it's at 350 million. Should be able to make over 400 million. I'm not really sure if 500 million is in the question. So Shazam's a modest success, but when you think about how well like Venom did, or Aquaman, or Captain Marvel, Breakthrough has made 27 million, 35 million worldwide. This film's actually not doing that bad, all things considered. Let's see. Oh, 87 million worldwide. Shit, that's doing better than I thought. Alright, let's go to Captain Marvel real quick, which came in number 2, crazy enough. Is at 414 mil domestic. That means it's past Wonder Woman at 1.1 billion worldwide. This should be able to make like 430 million, and I don't know if it'll reach 1.2, and I'm not sure if it'll pass Aquaman worldwide, but it looks like it will. So you have two superhero films that are making 1.1 billion worldwide close together, and then now Avengers has come out and passed both of them. So the superhero film continues to be the dominant genre at the box office. Yeah. If this is this Biff's alternate reality, remember good blockbusters like Terminator 2? Yeah, it's bringing people back to the awe of wonder of seeing movies in the theaters, Generation Star Wars. I suppose that's true. You have to say it just because of the success and the fan base and how popular it is. Yeah, I guess that's all we got there with that with those ones. There isn't much else. All right, so let's break it down. Let's look at Avengers Endgame from Anthony and Joe Russo. The numbers were staggering even going into the weekend, the pre-sales, what everyone was talking about, the hype around the movie, the trailer views. There was no doubt this was going to break the opening record. To how much of it was going to be broken was the real question. And as we get closer to the release date, it was very clear that the hype wasn't going to die down. The reviews didn't hurt. But we still putting this all in perspective, even Kevin Feige. Let's just start with the Russos here. Okay, so they come up with Captain America Winter Soldier. That movie opens to 95 million and makes 700 million worldwide. Very successful. Then they do Civil War, which makes 1.1 billion. Actually had pretty big drops at the box office, but opened to 179 million. So that's a successful film. Then they do Infinity War. This is where shit gets crazy, following up after Black Panther. 257 million opening, 2 billion worldwide. Becomes one of the highest grossing films of all time. And domestically is one of the biggest films of all time. And it was very popular, loved movie. So here we are with Endgame, where the film opens to 357 million. And now after Monday is at 393 million. And after just these few days, it's already at 1.3 billion. So 2 billion is not only a lock, but now the question is, does the movie beat Avatar? Which I kept saying was impossible, that the movie would have to do some crazy shit. Because here was the thing with Avatar. Avatar made so much internationally. Avatar made 760 mil domestic, which was beaten by Force Awakens, and has been Black Panther and both Infinity War came pretty close. Even Dark Knight came pretty close. But now looking at it, with $237 million budget, that film made $2 billion internationally. That's really what always kept this record so high, was that it was just so hard to meet that foreign total. But here we are now, and it looks like this is the first time I've ever thought it was possible. Considering they've already done $950 million foreign, it's not out of the question that this could make $2 billion foreign. I think this could make... I'm thinking 800 mil domestic is a lock. I don't know if $1 billion's a lock. I'd say 800 mil. So then this needs to make... Basically, they have to make 2 billion here and 800 or 900 million here. That's where it's going to end up. It's a tough call yet, how front-loaded this is going to be, or if it's going to get pulled away. I really don't know. It's kind of anyone's guess at this point. I think everything's on its side at this point, though. So let's go through Marvel. Here we go. This is what it's about, the culmination. So Iron Man, 2008, Johnny Fav, opens huge, 98 million, makes 585 million worldwide, starts a franchise. We're good to go. Incredible Hulk does not open as well, 55 million. Word of mouth's not there, 134 mil domestic, 263 million worldwide. Edward Norton's gone. Then we go to Iron Man 2, tons of hype, opens well, 128 million, but not as much of a hit domestically. Worldwide made 623 million. Very mixed reactions on that film. People are like, where's the MCU? Then Thor comes out, very popular movie, opens to 65 million, makes 450 million worldwide, gets decent reviews. People are like, wait, they pulled off a Thor movie? Then you have Captain America, the First Avenger, does decent box office, 176 mil domestic, not a great foreign total, but overall this film is a modest success. Actually, the first Captain America wasn't that big of a hit. Then you get Marvel's The Avengers, which this is what blows the MCU the fuck up. Joss Whedon's Avengers, 207 mil opening weekend, breaks all the records. Everyone's blown away. You'll never top this opening weekend. I remember that's what everyone said. It's going to take years. How foolish we were, because this has been topped quite a few times. 623 mil domestic, $1.5 billion worldwide. This set the standard for superhero movies for a long time at the box office. Before, it was probably Dark Knight was the benchmark. Coming off that, we get Iron Man 3, the Avengers effect kicks in, which is where movies start getting a boost from the success of Avengers, especially internationally. So now Iron Man 3 makes $1.2 billion. And so you're just like, oh, okay. Now they're on a roll. Thor: The Dark World, very hated film by most fans, still brings in 650 million worldwide, has quite a bit of a drop domestically. Then Winter Soldier comes out, one of the fan favorites, makes the 700 million worldwide that Thor didn't make. So right there, all three of these sequels after the Avengers are all making good money. Then you get Guardians of the Galaxy, the curveball no one expected to take over the MCU in many ways. $170 million budget. This film outperforms both Thor and Captain America, makes $773 million worldwide, and starts its franchise outside of kind of the main Marvel cast that's stuck on Earth. Then you get Age of Ultron, which has a drop-off, opens less than the original, $191 million. These are still great numbers, mind you. $459 million domestic, $1.4 billion worldwide. So the question was, did they top out? Could you go higher than the $1.5 billion the Avengers set? Was the hype never going to be there again? Then you get Ant-Man, modest success. After the trouble with Edgar Wright, $57 million opening weekend, makes $180 million domestic, has a low budget of $130 million, $500 million worldwide, makes $100 million in profit. Boom, Ant-Man. Then you have Civil War, where the Russos do a follow-up to both Captain America and the Avengers films. $250 million budget. This film does well, although it didn't do any better than Iron Man 3. So that was one that I always think kind of financially was a slight disappointment considering everything. Then you get Doctor Strange from Scott Derrickson, $165 million budget, opens to $85 million, makes about $680 million worldwide. That's a very successful movie. The reviews are good. I'm not sure if people love or just are mixed on that movie. I like the Doctor Strange movie. It is a little too action heavy. It could use more of the character stuff early on that's in the first half hour. I thought the Sonic the Hedgehog trailer looked fucking awful. It looked like everything that Detective Pikachu got right in its tone and presentation, they kind of failed in Sonic, and they were going for very similar things. I don't think some of the aesthetics are bad in what they're going for, but overall, Sonic looks really horrible in it. And that's unfortunate. Although I do kind of like what they've done with Jim Carrey as Eggman. If you guys have any questions what I think about the movie, just you can put them in there and I'll answer them. Because you could consider this a conversation. What's my favorite movie of the year so far? Shit, I'm gonna have to think about that one. I haven't seen a lot of movies. Okay. Anyway, let's get back to this, God, it's like I have the time travel pin particles and I'm going through these fucking Marvel movies. Okay, after Doctor Strange we get Guardians 2, which is a minor disappointment. I think this film should have made $1 billion. $389 million domestic, $863 million worldwide. But still, they're on a roll financially. That makes over $850 million. Spider-Man Homecoming, $334 million domestic, $880 million worldwide. They share this with Sony. Still, another film that makes over $850 million worldwide. Boom, Thor Ragnarok, Taika Waititi, $853 million worldwide. 3 movies in a row. All of them making over $300 million domestic. All of them opening over $100 million. Then you get Black Panther, huge event, makes $700 million domestic, $1.3 billion worldwide. $200 million budget, wins 3 Academy Awards. Then you got Infinity War, which makes $2,680 million domestic. Then you get Ant-Man and the Wasp. This one is kind of a drop down. $75 million opening, $216 million domestic. Budget's like $150 million, $622 million worldwide. Only does a little bit better than the original Ant-Man, but this isn't a bomb by any means. I just think a lot of people expected with the role they were on, this would at least make $750 million. So it looks like Ant-Man's never going to break out too much. But, as long as they keep the films cheap and they mix them another character. Then you get Captain Marvel. A lot of people thought this would ruin Endgame and be one of the MCU's first big disappointments and open at like 80 million. Blew all the expectations out of the water. There's so much controversy over this film. There's an economy out of making videos on this film. Brie Larson's going to be the most debated thing about the MCU. But still, 153 million opening, 414 mil domestic, 1.1 billion worldwide so far. Major success. $170 million budget. Captain Marvel's now one of the most successful films in the MCU. Then you get to Avengers Endgame, which is the big one. This movie opens $100 million higher than the film that came out a year ago. Man, the Thanos snap, really set hype. That was almost just like a perfect, brilliant marketing strategy, like a teaser to set up Endgame, was Thanos snapping everybody away. Because then everyone had to go see the next movie, whether it was good or bad, to see out what happens. It's funny because they could have done like an Infinity War and Infinity War Part 1 and 2 thing where it's just one big battle, but they knew they could just make that movie and it would be a hit. And then if they had an ending that would set things up well enough, they could just milk the tit from that and it would carry over. And it would build even more hype because they had like one of the biggest shock endings in recent history. That paid off huge. I mean, they're just pretty much laughing all the way back. This could have been a piece of shit and it would have made this money because it's just of how well executed they handled all of that stuff. So 22 films, 23 films, some TV shows, years of build-up, all in the brain of Kevin Feige and Jon Favreau, who gets a nice tribute at the end of this movie. They didn't even show much footage in the trailers. A lot of the big stuff in the movies wasn't even in the trailer. People didn't even know what the plot of this movie was. Fans did. It was online for months that it was going to be about time travel and all that, but really there was nothing shown to hype people up for this. Like those awesome Infinity War trailers. There was just the Marvel brand name. There was just the tease that everyone was going to come back. And what happened. And that this is a goodbye to Captain America and to Iron Man and so on. I mean, really, this right here alone, its week total is just like good enough. That's already like, okay, well, the film cost $300 million. They're probably okay. 800 million's a lock domestic as far as I'm concerned. Because I think it should do 100 million more domestic. Worldwide, 2.1's a lock. I think 2.5's in play. It's that Avatar thing. Can this beat Avatar? Will this make $3 billion? At the end of the day, it doesn't need to. This doesn't need to become the highest grossing film of all time. $2 billion would already make it a major success. So kudos to Kevin Feige, to Robert Downey Jr. especially for being involved in this. Chris Evans, I think, deserves a lot where his career's at. Chris Hemsworth. The writers Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely. And of course, Anthony and Joe Russo, who came into this franchise, 8 years ago now? Or something like that. How many years ago? I think it was 6 years ago or something like that. I can't remember when Winter Soldier came out. But they came into this franchise and, man, they became the new Joss Whedon, who we all thought was going to be handling this place. And then they also kind of took over a little bit of the cosmic and the James Gunn area, and they kind of mixed it all together. We all thought they were going to be the gritty Captain America guys. I never thought that they would be the Avengers guys too and handle the big films, but they're reaching the level of success with these movies that Joss Whedon did when he made the first Avengers, and it was a big event that Age of Ultron really didn't meet. Unlike Age of Ultron, this is following up its previous film and surpassing it from a financial standpoint. So whether or not people like this movie, and I'm mixed on it, it seems like a lot of people are, like Mahler and other critics and fans. We all saw it. I can't imagine how many people turned out for this movie. I mean, I really think if I could see a breakdown about how many millions of people went to go see this over the weekend, it's pretty staggering, and puts things in perspective that movies aren't dead, that movie chain theaters aren't dead, that everyone isn't just streaming or at home or watches everything on home video or downloads and torrents. It shows that people will still turn out to show up for a cultural event like this if you connect everyone, like they did with all of these films together, but also just making characters this iconic and being able to keep them around so long. That gives it this sense of hype and grandeur, and that we've had these relationships that I think are developed in movies like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. I think Marvel has that here. And hopefully in the second era of Marvel, they can continue to build on that foundation, and we end up loving where Spider-Man ends up and where the Guardians end up. And hopefully we can love T'Challa, and hopefully Captain Marvel can finally be likable. As of right now, though, it just seems like the brand's so successful that every Marvel movie is going to fucking make money for the next few years. you know, a lot of people are worried, like, was it going to end after this? It's like, man, not if they pull off X-Men. Not if they pull off Fantastic Four. This makes me think that a Marvel X-Men movie could make $1 billion. Just the first one they make. You know, and then Deadpool. What are they going to do with Deadpool? Deadpool's guaranteed $700 million no matter what. Ant-Man and Hulk movies are guaranteed 700, 800 million. Captain Marvel sequel's at least going to make 800 million. Guardians 3 should make $1 billion because it has Thor in it. So you still got like quite a few movies there. Spider-Man should get they're going to reintroduce Dr. Octopus and all that. So they have another like 10 movies that should all make profit. So they have quite a bit of time to keep this universe going. After that, though, after another cycle, and you know, they introduce the X-Men, how long is it going to keep going? Are they going to bring back old Captain America? What are they going to do with these legacy characters? And is Daredevil going to finally get some cinematic treatment? A lot of questions. I wish the movie had spent more time showing us kind of the world building that would have led to the next phase of Marvel. It's all kind of a mystery. Spider-Man Far From Home and all the films coming later are sort of an odd mystery. We don't really know where the universe is at right now. But still, the box office can't be denied. This even opened higher than the highest expectations, which would have been $300 million. It opened higher than that. The $36 million Monday is huge. By next weekend, I can't imagine where this is going to be. It's just hard to break down. I guess it had to be a mix of Infinity War being shockingly great. I think Infinity War had a lot to do with this as itself, as a very satisfying blockbuster. Of course, all the years of movies, and a word that got out that this was kind of going to be the last performance by Robert Downey Jr. in many ways. And just people wanting to see what happened after the snap. And even the title, Endgame, kind of set the stage for this, that this was the end and it was time to go. Which is why I'm upset it was such a light, fluffy kind of movie, considering the grandeur that was around it, going to see it and stuff like that. But yeah, this is now Marvel's led. What does it lead to, Kevin Feige? It leads to the most successful movie franchise ever, more than James Bond, Harry Potter, or Star Wars. Nothing is compared to this. Nothing. Nothing has the run of this at the box office that all these films have. Modest to really good reviews, and they've all made money. They've all opened huge, and the fact that they keep opening higher. If you just go down this list and see where they opened, and then we get up here, everything's opening well. You know, Ant-Man and the Wasp looks a little weird there, but everything else. And worldwide, Kevin Feige has totals 24 billion, although he's produced other films, so they count in that 24 billion. For instance, he worked on X-Men 2, or let me see, there's a few other ones in here. Spider-Man 2. So those are counted in there, but still, he's got to be the most successful modern producer. And the fact this is all tied to Disney and then the Fox merger just makes them even more powerful. Even if Star Wars is declining, Marvel isn't. So Disney's just laughing because people are like, well, what if Star Wars burns out? It's like, well, fuck you guys, we have Marvel. And look how much money we're making. Yeah, even with like Dumbo disappointing or Mary Poppins, the occasional, you know, Disney disappointment, they just know they got that Marvel money coming. I mean, this should easily make them $500-600 million in net profit. Easily. I think Infinity War made $500 million in net profit. So just off these two movies alone, they're going to make $1 billion. And they have Star Wars coming out at the end of the year, which I still think will make $1 billion. I just don't think it'll do anything better than Last Jedi. I think their biggest hope is if it could make 500 mil domestic and you know, possibly do 1.3, 1.4 billion. Good evening, Matrix. It could seem redundant now, but should this BOA end with the trailer reaction of the Sonic trailer? Maybe. I don't ever stream this late. Basically, this is what happened. I did my review, and then I've been working on a Werewolf in London video, and then I said I'm going to do a live stream today. I was going to do this early today, but I had a lot of chores to do. I had to go do laundry. I had to go put gas in my car. I had to go take money out. I had to come home and clean my apartment. I had to go take the trash out. I had to pay some bills. There was just a lot of that stuff I had to do. I had to prep dinner. So I had too much to do, because I would have done this at like 12 or 1 or 2. But now it's like, okay, I guess I'm doing a night one. Then I was laying down in bed, and I was going to do the stream at like 6 or 7, so I could do a longer stream, because I have work in the morning. And then I woke up, and I'm like, oh shit, it's like almost like 8:30, what the fuck? So that's basically what happened. So you're getting a late night stream. Although I like doing night streams. Preferably, I would love to do this stream on Sunday nights. You know, this stream was done on Sundays for like the first 70 episodes. Not 70, but the first like 50 something. And I would love this to be on Sunday night. And I actually get off work on Sunday nights. I'm just always so tired. It would be tough to do. It would be tired, Pat. But I'd love to do this on Sunday night, do a live stream or some kind of reaction on Monday, and then Tuesday upload an official video, like a video essay or official review, and then probably take the break for the next, few days. But I gotta get my schedule in order. Things have been weird in my life. I've been sleeping too much. The weather here's been insane. And if you noticed, I haven't really uploaded anything the last 2 weeks. So basically what you're getting this week after 2 weeks of no content, I'm trying to milk as much as I can from this Avengers thing. Added a lot of subscribers. I've added like 200 subscribers that 2 weeks that I did not upload anything. So that's been nice. So I thought I could, get a sub boost. We're almost to 11,000. We're basically at 10.7. So hopefully with this Avengers video and then the review and maybe some more Avengers content, that'll put me over 11,000 going into the summer season. And hopefully by the end of the year, when we're talking about Rise of Skywalker, we can get this channel to like 20,000 subscribers or more than that. Because Last Jedi was the big boost. Solo, I don't think quite that. Rise of the Skywalker, we're going to have a couple months of material. I could have milked more from Captain Marvel, only did one video on that. But Endgame, I do think there'll probably be more videos. I think I'll end up talking about Endgame again, be it in a piece where I'm just kind of expressing feelings on it, like ideas or things I would have changed, or the future of the MCU. And we'll definitely be covering the box office of this film over the next several weeks just to see where it goes. Sunday night movie talk. Yeah, I'm a Saturday Night Fever I miss doing. I've been sleepy. I don't know what it is. I go to bed at a good time and I wake up and then I end up being tired again by like 7 o'clock every night. It's been driving me crazy. I would love to be able to stay up late and edit and work on videos. Although I've been getting a lot of copyright claims. The Garden State video, unfortunately, got a copyright claim. They do some of the cosmic entities. Again, game. And I also been thinking about bringing David Stewart on for a stream. Trying to get that hookup with Wild Smile again. Talk to Geeks and Gamers maybe. And then got to get a hold of Blood Money. I think he's in the hospital again. So that's why there hasn't been any beef stew. Me and him have only talked to each other once or twice. Have you seen Jay Dyer's YouTube channel? It's amazing. It's like conspiracy theories, movie reviews, and philosophy. No, I have not. Yeah, I do need more sunlight. I do drink coffee. But it isn't working as well. I think a lot of it has to be that I'm going to the gym less. I was going to the gym 4 times a week. I was doing upper and lower routines, upper body, lower body, and then a little bit of cardio and abs. And now I've been going like once a week on like Wednesdays when I got off work. And maybe I'll go throw in some like leg extensions on another day. So I think that's part of it. I think I'm just down on energy because I'm working kind of laying around. I'm not getting out enough and keeping myself stimulated and keeping my body awake. I think I need to start doing more cardio, stuff like that. Or maybe it's how I'm eating. I haven't been eating too great too. I need to eat a little healthier. I did watch his review of Endgame. I agree with what most of Your Movie Sucks said. And he's also a fan of Infinity War like I am. So I agreed with him quite a bit. I agreed with him. I agreed with Mahler. It was nice to see some critics having the same feelings I did because I thought everybody was just going to praise this film. I feel like a lot of people are giving this movie a pass just because of the emotions. Would you agree that Russo brothers are the Bruce Timm and Paul Dini of the MCU? No, in the sense that Paul Dini and Bruce Timm reinvented so many characters. And I guess you could say they did that with Cap, but they introduced so many new characters, Paul Dini and Bruce Timm, and the design and how we look at those characters, and in many ways came up with the definitive versions of things. The Russos never really came up with their Harley Quinn. And they never really changed the character like Mr. Freeze was changed. So I don't totally think they're a Paul Dini and Bruce Timm situation. And I think a lot of the things we like still come from like Kevin Feige. I still think a lot of it's him. My audience was much better during Endgame. There was a few assholes, but it was for the most part okay. I like the movie too. I mean, I don't dislike the movie. I just think it's a combo of like not eating like, you know, my protein anymore, and I need to exercise more, and especially I need to do cardio. You know, I still lift stuff, but I need to you know, do cardio, pump myself up, get my heart rate up, and just stuff like that. Go back to drinking my carrot juice, and like tonight I ate some carrots with steak. You know, I got to get back to that, and having a routine. Routine kind of keeps you going. My mood and routine have kind of been all over the place. Yeah, it's tough. I guess Galactus would be the big villain they should go with after this, and they're going to bring in Adam Warlock probably in Guardians 3. La Dolce Vita, one of the finest films of world cinema. Of course. There's too many things to say about it, really. Maybe the most sexual movie ever made, like the sexiest movie ever made. And it's sexy in the way that only movies can be sexy. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get like an Iron Man reboot anytime soon. I was disappointed with ER on EFAP. When he did say stuff, he was on point, like when he talked about Cap, but turns out he's like a very quiet, polite, kind of nice guy. And just lets them talk and didn't really get involved in the show very much. I thought he would be a little bit more involved. He seemed rather like shy-ish. That sort of surprised me about him. I was expecting a little bit more. Goodbye, Bathory. It was nice seeing you. I hope to see more of you soon. I feel like we haven't seen each other a lot lately. I hope everything's going well with you. I wish you good fortune in the wars to come. Titanic reboot, bitches. They mocap Leo to just be a younger version of Jack. I don't know if they added too many jokes. I just don't think they were very good jokes. I don't think the movie was that funny. I think a lot of fans will continue to... I mean, even if they keep half the audience going into the next phase of Marvel, that's still going to be bigger than any audience out there. That still means that they're going to have films make $1 billion. I don't know if they'll ever get it this big again. They're going to have to get people to love these new characters like we loved Iron Man and Captain America. But I think that's perfectly possible with Spider-Man and Doctor Strange and those characters. I think they could get that popular with the right movie. I don't know what have added to the drama since it would show Thanos really throwing everything. Like, imagine Ronan fighting Guardians again, or he tries to fight Carol again. I basically just didn't like seeing them fight old Thanos or past Thanos. That took a lot of the tension out for me, the stakes. Yeah, I am smoking while I'm talking. Yes, this is going to be a common thing in live streams. I just smoke on them now. I didn't used to because I tried to be more professional, but I don't give a fuck. I don't get a lot of time at home. So if I'm at home and I'm recording and I'm talking, I'm going to fucking smoke. Yeah, Brie Larson's performance was just... it was bad. There really isn't any way to go around it. She didn't improve at all here. You know, disappointing. I thought they would do to her how they made like Doctor Strange a little bit better, or how they improved on a lot of characters, but yeah, it's just bad. Anthony Cumia and Jim Norton as Hawkeye. Hey, look at that sexy thumbnail for Box Office Addict, though. That's fucking nice. Alright, let's get this fucking... shit. Gotta go fast. Chili dogs. Fixing the trailer. How do you fix what is already destroyed? Alright, here we go, people. Holy shit. What the fuck? Cyclops is in this movie. By the way, I love James Marsden. He's great. He's great in Enchanted. I like this. That's cute. That's kind of awesome, actually. See, all of this is working, right? Up until you see Sonic. That looks awful. This design, this furry fucking creature design, his legs, his arms, he just does not look right. He should look more cutesy, like how they made Pikachu really cute. He should be adorable. He should be more like a ball and tinier. But they made him lanky and stuff. He looks weird. I like how he looks like a runner, but yeah, he just doesn't look that cute. And what a weird design. What does that look like? That looks like something. I keep running against the wind. What the fuck does Gangsta's Paradise have to do with this?
Knocked out power across the entire Pacific Northwest. This needs someone who can.
See, it's weird. This stuff looks like a legitimate movie. All of this stuff.
You're not suggesting who I think you're suggesting.
We have no choice.
I like that they didn't have him go all fat, but yeah, Jim Carrey.
What the? Are you in charge here?
Yes, I am.
Nope.
I'm
Wrong. I'm in charge.
Comedy?
Allow me to clarify. In a sequentially ranked hierarchy based on level of critical importance, the disparity between us is too vast to quantify. Agent Stone?
The doctor thinks you're basic.
Listen, pal, I don't know if you...
See, that wasn't bad, him talking fast and all that.
Sorry, Major. What was your name? Benny? Nobody cares! SFPD!
Ugh, what the I mean, I don't know how I feel about, like, the mouth. The mouth is throwing me off. How about you guys? What do you think about the mouth? Yeah, it should have used Amish Paradise. Yeah, it would have been nice to take the Spider-Verse approach. I agree, Sonic should be animated. I get what they're going for here. I don't think it's a totally horrible idea that having Sonic, he's escaped and he's in this live-action world. But yeah, I thought about a Sonic movie for years, and I was like, yeah, you kind of just need to do it as like a 3D, 2D animated film hybrid. You're so right. I definitely think Into the Spider-Verse would have been the right way to go. But Sonic, yeah, he just looks weird. That's not iconic. He's not really being sold on that image. Sonic's supposed to look cool. He's all about cool. It's 90s. And he hasn't really been a popular character for 20 years, but people still wear the shirts, and now there's debates if Sonic was even a good game. But Sonic's supposed to represent, like, cool and awesomeness and attitude. And this just kind of comes off more like a mediocre teddy bear, you know, knockoff in the store. Yeah, I mean, he looks like a hedgehog for the most part, but they got the nose right. God, oh, that face.
Oh, come on. Okay, pal, I want answers. Basically, it looks like I'm gonna have to save your planet.
Very Chucky there. Scary. Okay, I like him rolling up into the ball. That's cool.
Oh, is that all you got?
No, but thank you for asking.
See, this stuff could be fun, that Eggman has all these gadgets and he's using them to fight Sonic and they go back and forth. I mean, I like Jim Carrey trying to hunt him down. I like how he looks. It's nice to see Jim Carrey in a movie like this, but, you know, there's no way this doesn't have a horrible script. I can just feel it.
Our job is to secure it, neutralize it, see what makes it tick.
Oh man, if you love the Fast and the Furious, you're gonna love Sonic, voiced by... This isn't Vin Diesel, it's Vince Unleaded. Oh, cool, he has portals. Has a Genesis. Here we are, this is classic Sonic shit. Boss battle.
Look at this! I took 9 million.
So what, are they gonna do the Quicksilver thing? Is there gonna be Quicksilver jokes with Sonic? That probably actually makes sense to do that.
Steps today.
Yeah, that was totally Quicksilver.
Stay in there and be quiet. How much
You know, this whole marketing thing, it's like, let's use a popular song, Guardians of the Galaxy and all that. Let's bring up nostalgia. All of that's there. Let's have a recognizable actor. Let's throw in some jokes and yeah, IP. I mean, this is like every cliche of modern movie trailers and modern movie marketing is in this trailer.
I can't breathe in
This is like factory made.
Do you have your child in that bag?
No. I mean, yes, it's a child, but it's not mine.
It's not your child.
Smells like body spray in an old ham sandwich.
That's not a bad joke. Okay. Well, that just happened. I mean, it doesn't look as bad as it could have. It more than anything just looks really mediocre and awkward. That movie could have looked a lot worse. Let's do a remake brainstorm. Yeah, that movie Hop with Russell Brand as the rabbit. Yeah, that joke at the end wasn't the bad. It wasn't so, but yeah, James, he is in Westworld, yeah. He was in the first season. Yeah, is Sega making movies now? So is it going to be like the Sega movie universe? Where they mix all the Sega characters together? Jim Carrey is Fire Marshal Bill. I don't know who decided that was a good look. I think they needed to go through some more designs on that Sonic. I would have done a Sonic movie as just like a 3D action film. I would have done it more like the 90s Sonic cartoon, that badass one where Eggman basically like controls the city. It's almost like this 1984 thing. All the screens are Eggman and Sonic is an experiment, and this would be more of like a cyberpunk thing. And there's these mutated creatures and devices, and people are part robot, part human. And Sonic basically starts a revolt against Eggman and his machines to bring life and nature back to the world. Maybe it actually ended with some kind of emotional thing. A little Princess Mononoke, you start to see grass grow and stuff like that, and trees. Because the entire world's just been taken over by these huge skyscrapers and technology. And Sonic, you know, Sonic in that first level's running free and you know, the green zone or whatever. Maybe that's kind of the goal. But it would basically just be a sci-fi action film. There'd be drones and stuff like that. Sonic would be like revving up and shooting up into the air and taking out drones. And curious here's how the mythology is going to come in, how the coins are going to come in, and the dimensions and all that. Because those fantasy elements that are in Sonic, I guess they're going to have their own scientific basics in this. Or is he an alien? I don't know. Or maybe I would have even had it that Eggman created Sonic, and he's trying to hunt down his own creation. I think Detective Pikachu has a better concept. I like The Wind Rises. I do think it's one of Miyazaki's weaker films. I really like the first half, and I think there's scenes that are first rate, but overall I'd give it like a 7.5. I think it all doesn't come together emotionally, and the romance is kind of too little too late. And the lead character is just kind of generic. It's a nice thematic film. It's a nice thesis on his career and how he works as a filmmaker, but I think it's just okay. I don't think it's like a great Miyazaki film. Gotta go fast. Chili dogs. I wonder if this is gonna end with Tails showing up and being like, Sonic, we gotta get chili dogs. Oh, really? Tim Miller's involved with Sonic. I was not aware of this. Ryan Reynolds would have been a good Sonic. I guess he just can't voice everything. Who the fuck is the voice of Sonic? What is that voice? What is that horrible, horrible voice? Ralph the Movie Maker just uploads an image. 180,000 views. Let's see. That was a very entertaining EFAP, though. I do wish ER had talked a lot more, though. I was listening to it. Oh man, Interpol, fuck yeah. God, I hate I have to work for the next 5 days. I felt like, man, my days off, I didn't do shit. Like, I didn't do anything yesterday. Basically, like, I'm even trying to remember. It's like I just kind of got up and hung out all day. Did I even do anything? I got a lot done today, but God. I gotta get more productive. Oh, I did the live stream yesterday. Why do Marvel movies look kind of ugly? Why are you so ugly, Patrick? No, Star Wars can't be saved. It's already dead. It's dead, I tell you. Sorry there wasn't much box office to talk about, but like 90% of the money went to fucking Endgame. Everybody went to go see Endgame. Ryan Johnson. It is possible to separate the term from its bad faith use. The term itself is rooted in sexist bullshit. It needs to die. It's not rooted in sexist bullshit, you fucking idiot. God, wasn't he trolling people about Game of Thrones? Oh, Cargill. Shit, I know this guy. Spill.com, lived in Austin, and he also, he wrote Doctor Strange and, Sinister. A lot of you know him as Carlisle. I love this guy. Mary Sue is a term that gets abused as woman who does something unexpectedly awesome when it specifically means character never fails when trying and is always better than all the other exceptional characters around them. 100%. It's a fan fiction character. It is possible, Ryan, but it's not rooted in sexism. It's just in fan culture and breaking down archetypes and cliches that you see in anime. My dick is a Mary Sue. Jesus Christ, Ryan Johnson trying to be edgy. God, I can't believe we're still doing the Mary Sue thing. Let's see. Okay, it's about Blood Simple. See, I have that Game of Thrones disease wherever two people hug, I'm bracing myself for stabbing. If you hug me in real life, I'll be tracking those hands, bucko. Oh my god. I love everything about this and I just melted back into my seat as a kid. You need to see the rest of my day smile. What the fuck? Yeah, wasn't he doing something where he's trolling fans for having problems with the horrible writing at the end of Game of Thrones? And he's like, see? You guys don't like when your expectations are subverted, that us are smarter. It's like, great. Now, of course, Ryan Johnson's teaming up with D&D. They're all going to team up and run Hollywood. They're all behind the scenes talking to each other about the future of Star Wars, and they're laughing, twirling his fingers like a fucking villain. It's disgusting. Fucking disgusting. Shame on you. Shame on you, Ryan Johnson. Yeah, Ryan Sue. Ryan Johnson is a cunt. I agree with you, Sam. I think that's the quote of the week. I actually do want to work on the Ex Machina analysis. It was funny. I was rewatching the Ex Machina review where I initially got that idea, and I'm sitting there with my friend Todd, and we get to the end, and he goes, do you feel like this film had an underlying subtext about the morality of women? And then you see me lighten up like, yeah, I do. And he's like, I got to the end and I was like, huh. And I go, it's got like the opposite message of Fury Road. And I rewatched that a few days ago and it had me thinking like, shit, I never did that Ex Machina analysis because the inception of that idea came up from him bringing that up, the morality of women. And I'm like, that's totally what it's about, man. Like the evil of women and how that guy gets cucked and manipulated and what power women have. And women taking over the world at the end. She's basically going to rule the world, a world ruled by women. And using weak men to get to that world. I guess as Arya as Azor on high. It feels like D&D don't care. Let's just kill off the fucking Night King. People are like, he's going to come back. No, he's not. He's just a generic villain. He's done now. We're going to finish the final 3 episodes with fucking Cersei. None of the main characters are going to die. Jon and Dany are going to be happy. Arya's going to get a happy ending. Jaime and Brienne will end up happy. Everyone's going to have a happy ending. There might be a new Night King in the final scene, and that'll be all D&D gives you. We'll never find out about the Lord of Light We'll never find out the prophecy, who it was. We'll never learn what Bran's been up to. We won't learn any of that shit. They're just going to leave it all a mystery. I have no faith in them after that recent episode, which was a very tense episode where it felt like characters were going to die. Basically, if they had just killed off main characters like Brienne or Jaime, and then at the end, if the Night King necessarily wasn't defeated, but if he was, I don't know, damaged in some way, and had to escape, and, you know, the battle wasn't won, but they knocked out like half of them or something. I don't know, or at least that something needed to happen. Something like somebody's sword needed to light on fire, or some prophecy needed to come true, or Bran needed to fucking warg into a direwolf or into Theon. Maybe Bran wargs into Theon at the end and fights the Night King with warg powers. Maybe he wargs into a fucking dragon and shows up. All sorts of cool shit should have happened. Maybe Arya uses her Faceless Men abilities to sneak up on them. I mean, how did she even sneak up on them? They were surrounded by like 100 undead and White Walkers. How the fuck? I mean, you see some wind go by. It's like, how did she even get behind him like that? I love the music when it's building up. That theme is amazing. It's some of the best Game of Thrones music when the Night King's walking to Bran and it feels like everyone's about to die. They're swarmed by zombies. I was very excited. I thought the stakes were there, and then they copped out. They copped out for a happy ending and fan service. They didn't commit to the rules of what we know of Game of Thrones. And in many ways, last night, they completely betrayed Martin's vision. And it felt like after 8 years of build-up, it was just like, we're just going for a generic action movie ending. Especially since it's not the original Arya that was likable the first 4 years, that it's new superhero Arya that's had the worst arc for a while. I was hoping to get so much more from Theon or from Jaime Lannister. What a disappointment. I mean, really, as disappointing as Endgame was, Game of Thrones from a story standpoint, really, it's just like, that was an event for a decade as well. And at least Marvel's happy, predictable ending made sense. Game of Thrones ending with happiness and predictability is just, it misses the whole fucking point. Brienne should have fucking died. For sure. They should have killed off more main characters. They should have killed maybe Sansa, Dany. Somebody else should have died. There was too many fake out deaths. Every time someone was about to die, somebody saved them. There was too much like the dragons would come in with their fire. There was just too many. And just not knowing the Night King's motivations and what was going on with the White Walkers is such a fucking disappointment. I don't think they used those details. I think they used some things. Yeah, I don't think any of this was George R.R. Martin. None of this felt like George R.R. Martin. I think this was all D&D. When I saw they were writing this episode, I got real worried. Got real fucking worried. I was like, here we go. Me too. Jaime taking out the Night King and being Azor Ahai, or the Hound. All sorts of people. It's not Arya killing him. It's just the way it was all done was so fucking ridiculous. You know, none of it felt earned. It felt very cheap after just how powerful this guy was. Like him smiling and, you know, bringing all the dead back. That was badass. There was a lot of cool shit happening. And then it all ended and just like, really? I mean, I called it halfway and I go, oh, she's going to go stab him after she talks to Melisandre. Melisandre was great this episode. It was cool to see some magic. The horror elements were fine. And for the most part, I liked what Jon Snow was doing. Jon Snow was very likable in this. That's about it. I guess I kind of cared when Ed died. Even Lyanna Mormont, you know, back in the day, Game of Thrones, when the giant came through that door and smashed her, that would have been the death of Lyanna Mormont. The giant would have come in and just smashed her and she'd have been dead. But a new Game of Thrones, she gets picked up, crushed, stabs him in the eye and kills him. You know, that's the difference between where we are now and where we used to be. She would have just got stepped on and it would have been impactful. Brienne would have just got eaten by zombies. And that would have been it. There would have been no closure. Just like in Hardhome, where people are just dying. That's what it should have been like, but with main characters. And it would have been really fucked up and dark. Instead, everybody died except for all the main characters. So it's like, oh, the show has no balls anymore. It just made everything feel pointless because nobody that we cared about really died. So even though it was devastating and even though it was haunting, it was like it didn't add up to anything. I don't know, everybody's turning into Ryan Johnson. You know, David Foster Wallace talked about this with irony on Charlie Rose, that, you know, writers starting to become meta, especially this postmodernism, and that was being really prominent and going into the 90s, that people are too caught up in the irony that they aren't writing these organic stories. You know, it's all about subversion, it's all about these meta things. And I think this postmodern mindset has affected a lot of the writers today, who, instead of really sticking to their internal logic and writing out their stories, they're more concerned with being aware about the fact that they're writing a story, and how audiences today are more savvy to stories and structures. So they're trying to show that they're smarter than the audience member. So instead of impressing the audience with a good story, like The Red Wedding, by using logic to show that these mistakes Robb Stark made cost him, now it's more like, well, you think this is going to happen, let's just do the total opposite. And it doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. It's just the writer, the filmmaker, trying to show you that they're so much smarter than you, and look how clever they are, that they could trick you like that. But they don't realize that we're so savvy, especially with like video essays today, that we know what they're doing before they even do it. So it's predictable when they do that kind of subversion, instead of, on the other hand, doing something that you've never seen before, like killing Ned Stark. We never saw something like that on a show. Having Dany get killed and the Night King winning the battle, for the most part, would have been something we hadn't really seen. That you can't really fight death. But they didn't want to commit to that. Same thing with Endgame not committing to. Maybe the snap is always going to affect them. Maybe everybody doesn't get to come back. And maybe Thanos isn't even happy about it. It could have been more complex. It makes all of these things so much more or less complex. They're instead just kind of messes. They're kind of incoherent messes of stories. All of these great modern stories, because they think the idea of a story, what people are thinking about the story, matters more than actually structuring and fleshing out the details to a story. And the details are really what make everything work. There's a lack of detail. There's a lack of intelligence, where you actually feel like the people writing this are clever. You know, I used to think D&D were really clever back in the early days. I thought they put a lot of effort into Game of Thrones and the stuff they added. I can't believe the same guy who wrote Brick wrote The Last Jedi. You know, I can't believe we're in this world. And now the attack comes on the fans. Basically, you're angry white troll fanboys who hate to see women in movies. You hate to see women in power. You don't like that the world's changing. And you don't like that the art is changing with it. Because you're not progressive enough, and you're not empathetic enough, and that you're not ready for the new. When really you're just critiquing bad storytelling. But they're blaming it on us because they're still making money. Game of Thrones is still huge. Avengers is still making money. You know, Star Wars still makes money. And then we're like, well, hey, what about this? They're like, no, you're just a Nazi. You're just a troll. You don't want to join up with everybody else. Well, I'm like, well, if this is where the future is going, is this the kind of stuff that people think is good? Which I thought the reason we liked things like this to begin with, why we originally liked Game of Thrones, or why we were excited about new Star Wars films, is because we got tired of that old shit. And now here we are, and they're going back to that shit. And now we're supposed to praise it because there's a girl now instead of a guy being the generic hero character. No, you're just a bunch of fucking hacks. I'm not a Nazi. You're a hack. And you're so fucking defensive and insecure about it because deep down you know it's true, that you'll cling on to anything before everyone exposes you. Because history will show as time goes on and reveal you for the poor artist that you were, and how condescending you were, and misguided you all were. And you think just because we're a vocal minority on the internet that we don't have any impact, but the truth is that a lot of people think The Last Jedi sucks. Almost everyone I talk to thinks that movie sucks. A lot of people are going to have problems with Endgame. And yeah, Game of Thrones is still a cultural phenomenon. But looking back on it at whole, you're going to have people saying, yeah, the first few years are good, but it goes to shit after that. And you're going to have to hear that the rest of your life. And you could take all that money to the bank, and more power to you. I got no problem with you guys being rich. But if you're all going to be pricks about it and not open to criticism, especially you, Ryan Johnson, I don't know. You know, I guess the Empire really did win. And the hope for a future of movies where anything could happen, that did happen. The escapism that was promised to us by George Lucas with Star Wars, it did happen, but at a price. I don't know, we gave up verisimilitude, we gave up honesty, we gave up transparency, and in many ways it's no longer about just giving us a glimpse of hope. It's about giving us a glimpse of hope and then twisting the knife and then just giving us something that nobody really wanted because you couldn't come up with something. And then I have to settle for your mediocrity. And then I have to be criticized for your mediocrity. Yeah, I don't think so. Should MCU do original Fantastic Four or reimagined version changing the family dynamics? I think a little bit of both. I think it would help to do it as a period piece. Yeah, I think him giving it to Bucky would have made more sense, or at least have a scene with Bucky and him talking. I would have liked. Oh yeah, the cinematography's been so dark since like season 5. They quit lighting the show after some point. It always had a lot of darkness, but holy shit. Yeah, Ryan Johnson's a coward. D&D are lazy and just want the money and fame. George Martin's probably even that way at this point. He probably just likes making the money. And I can't really blame Kevin Feige and Marvel and them. I think they just wrote themselves into a corner and they didn't know what to do. They had to make everyone happy. And really the only way to make everyone happy is either make a masterpiece or something mediocre. And so they settled for the mediocre. They lost their, everybody cut their balls off. Nobody has balls anymore. And you can't use terms like Mary Sue. You can't talk about how forced things feel when there's forced females representation, or all the girls are in the same shot in Endgame. You can't talk about how there's a problem with Arya Stark killing the Night King, because if you do, you're a sexist. And everyone's an expert, and I don't know. Just because some of this stuff gets associated with groups like the alt-right doesn't mean that all of it's alt-right. It just means a lot of us notice these patterns. Basically, all these writers feel like old men that don't understand the internet and where culture's going. I think anything would have been better than what they did with the Night King, quite honestly. Any plot twist would have been better. Anything. The cinematographer are blaming people not knowing how to adjust TV brightness for the Game of Thrones episode being too dark. So I have to adjust my television every time I watch your show because you kept everything too dark. And to me, the darkness just seems to come from the fact to hide the special effects. Anyone who makes movies know the darker you can get an image, the better things will look in that image. I mean, David Fincher movies are very dark. Fight Club's pretty dark. It's a nice trick. Things look good in the dark, but and I get they wanted to light with the fire and everything like that, but Jesus, just add some lighting here and there. Add some color. I didn't think it was too dark. I liked how apocalyptic everything looked, especially the dragon battle. But it could have used some color. Could have looked more like Two Towers or something. I think more Peter Jackson. He shot those night scenes almost perfectly in Lord of the Rings. No, this is Box Office Addict. That was a review. God, it's so crazy. The more you read about Ryan Johnson, he follows Twitter, it's like, wow, you are that asshole. You are the guy I thought made that movie for all the wrong reasons. Yeah, I don't know if everyone cares about Sonic so much. Yeah, it looks like shit. What were you expecting? Did you think the Sonic movie was going to be great? So Force Awakens made $288 million over 4 days. This made 393. Man, with Endgame being a disappointment, and then Game of Thrones seems to be like it's gonna suck. Now here we are with Rise of the Skywalker. Fuck's sakes, I gotta deal with J.J. Abrams at the end of the year. Oh my god. I don't want a James Wan Donkey Kong film, no. Yeah, Helm's Deep was dark, but the lighting was great, yes. And honestly, at this point, they have no excuse, because Helm's Deep was 2002, and on Game of Thrones, they're using the kind of money that Peter Jackson had when making Lord of the Rings. So... yeah, Army of Darkness, Sam fucking Raimi made that movie for $11 million. The end of that movie, which is basically Helm's Deep, it's one of the great castle battles. It has beautiful lighting. There's no excuse. Even Watchers on the Wall, Neil Jordan or whatever, the guy, not Neil Jordan, but the guy who just did Hellboy, he did that episode at night. The lighting wasn't this dark. We've had dark episodes of Game of Thrones before, but the last, like, for some reason, Season 6 has super dark lighting in point. Season 7 has it, so does this. It's not all the time, and it makes me think of, like, when Euron attacked Theon and Yura, and how dark that fucking was, and you couldn't see it. And it was our first naval battle, and you couldn't see shit. Yeah, Deathly Hallows was dark. I can't deny that. That was dark. Almost a little too dark. Yeah, maybe he deleted that tweet. I'm not sure. I mean, that's just a good way to do night photography. Watch The Dark Knight. How Wally Pfister shoots those scenes in Chicago at night. They look great. Paris, Texas. Night photography can look gorgeous, but when it looks like you're just shooting darkness, it kind of takes away like any sense of geography or where we're at. And also that I was disappointed in the direction. The guy who did Hard Home did such a good job on Hard Home and Battle of the Bastards, at least shooting them, and The Winds of Winter. His camera, his composition, his framing, how he edited everything. This, though, there were so many close-ups. It was so much quick cutting and close-ups, and with the darkness, it made everything kind of a muddled mess. There was great moments like the fire swords going out with the Dothraki and all that stuff, or Arya and her little zombie sequence in the library. But for the most part, it was kind of visually bland and didn't have a lot of his signature stuff. I mean, there was cool shit like the dragon and Jon Snow running around with the dragon and the music. Like, the stuff looked good, but he's directing the episode before the finale, episode 5. I hope he comes back. I hate that David Nutter directs 3 episodes. I'm not a fan of David Nutter's work. And I know he did Reigns of Castamere. I wish they would have brought back Jack Bender, who did The Door. I wish they would have brought back Matt Shackman, who did the dragon fight last season. I think would have been a really good director to bring in. Quite a few people. Although they brought Alan Taylor back last year, and he did Beyond the Wall, and that sucked. But, yeah, David Nutter, fuck him. He's doing the next fucking episode, and then this guy, man, this was definitely his weakest episode for me. I even preferred when he did that episode, The Gift, in Season 5. And then D&D are doing the finale. They both directed 1 episode each. And honestly, both episodes they directed I liked. They did an episode in Season 3 I really liked, and the premiere of Season 4 I think is pretty great. I hope at least with the finale, they're willing to explain what's going on with the gods, and they actually have really intense dialogue scenes. I mean, they directed the first Oberyn Martell scene where, he stabs the Lannister and the knife and all that. Those are really good scenes. So hopefully D&D pull off a halfway decent finale, but this was a huge clusterfuck for a 3rd episode. I mean, it's as bad as Solo. The cinematography definitely was a misstep in this episode. Considering how good the cinematography was in like the Battle of the Bastards, I was expecting a lot more. And how they were talking about how expensive this was and how they took 55 days to shoot it. I could see all the different effect shots, and I get his idea of like, we'll have a slow moment of characters looking at each other, it's quiet, then we'll have a big battle. They were trying to do more like Blackwater, but Blackwater was just better written. George Martin wrote that script, and it was just better. Yeah, too much shaky cam, and I was shocked. It was very sloppy. You know, Chimes at Midnight pulled that sort of thing off, and I think Hard Home had that element, but not this. And just no iconic shots, like Jon Snow coming out of the bodies, and like he was at the center of an eye, that, you know, in Battle of the Bastards, or that one long tracking shot with Jon Snow fighting all the army, and it's like a 5-minute tracking shot. There was nothing as awesome as that in this episode. This was going more for tension and atmosphere and dread, and I think it worked in that regard. It's just they needed to kill people off and not have such a happy ending, and then I think this would have been a really good episode. Instead, it's a episode that's got a lot of beautiful things about it from a production standpoint, but completely messy when you look at it overall with the show. I thought I wanted this after all these years, but it's like, shit, I just want two people walking down a long road to somewhere talking about the world. It turns out that's all I really want. I didn't want these big battles. All those years ago, I thought that's what I wanted, but it's like, no, I actually don't want to see Jaime Lannister fighting in Winterfell and their dragon. It's less than a... Maybe it's good that this stuff's over. Maybe we'll get some good politics at the end. Maybe we'll go back to some classic Game of Thrones backstabbing. I mean, maybe. I don't know. That really killed the momentum with me. Yeah, and their strategy was horrible. Like, why not keep the dragons at the castle? Why not have fire up higher? Why not... I mean, there were so many better battle strategies that I was thinking of while watching it. They were pissing. What? D&D were fucking cock-teasing with Ghost. Like, hey, we killed all the direwolves except Nymeria. Oh, look, Ghost is running into battle. Oh, it fades into black. We're not getting anything. It's like, fuck you guys. It is very anime problems now with Game of Thrones. Yeah, it's true. I miss like Tywin sitting at the council and talking to Tyrion, and them debating about what they were going to do in their own morality and how to run King's Landing. I miss all the scheming going on and people, and then them just talking about dragons and zombies. You know, that stuff is what made it exciting. Now it's just kind of like generic fantasy, just on a better scale than maybe we've ever seen before. The dragons probably looked better than we've ever seen dragons look before. Yeah, I don't get it. The archers, everything. It was a horrible... Especially considering how many people they had, how big their military was. You think they could have... Because really, if you have the fire, you know, how many troops there are, if you just have the dragons taking out thousands of soldiers in a circle, and they keep doing it, you would knock out most of that army, for the most part. You shouldn't really get hand-to-hand combat with these things. You should try to keep them at a distance, constantly be shooting arrows, with fire, and... just stuff like that. I mean, I would have had it been so much more. And not seeing Bran do anything. Where the fuck was Bran when he was warging? I don't... You know, I like Titan AE. I'll defend that goddamn movie. Cosmic Castaway. I actually like Titan AE. But so with that in Endgame, I'm just in I'm in shock right now. Like, now I'm just fucking cynical again. I'm just completely fucking cynical about art. Like, I'm not happy. I'm in the worst place I've been in a while when it comes to art. I need to go read a fucking book or something just to get my spirits up. Yeah, they should have had catapults. They should have used more. I agree with all you guys. Trenches, use more dragon glass, fire in general. The fire ring was one of the only good ideas they had. Keep the dragons at the castle constantly shooting fire. Send out very strict military like the Dothraki or the Unsullied with shields and spears. Have them go out and slowly kill enemies by the fire line. Have them keep killing it. Sort of like what Ramsay did with his plan, where they kind of surround them and just go in and kill them. They should have been able to kind of keep them off in their own little separate circles and killed them off and then burnt the rest. And really, if the Night King and the White Walkers wouldn't have had much of an army left, they wouldn't have been able to do very much by the time they got there. They would have been overwhelmed. Even if he was rising dead bodies, if most of the bodies were burned, it wouldn't have mattered. I haven't watched Cobra Kai season 2. No, it wouldn't have been 15 minutes long, because what you have to do then as the writers is have them do everything right, and then the Night King is just so powerful, and there's tricks and magic that we don't know about that just makes it too overwhelming. Then they have to get creative and actually come up with something to where the characters did everything right and they still lose. It can't keep being characters making dumb mistakes, like Jon Snow running out to save his brother and fucking up their plan, and then Ramsay getting the advantage and then Deus Ex Machina. It can't be that, you know, Dany wants to go fly her dragon around because she saw the Dothraki die. It's like, no, they have to have strict plans they stick to, but the dead are so powerful the plan doesn't work. That's the Game of Thrones way. No matter how hard you try, you just can't fight this thing that's coming. It's too strong. Yeah, Dynasty Warriors. You're fucking right. I didn't like a lot about Endgame. The time travel plot holes, Captain America's story ending, past Thanos being the one they fight at the end and not new Thanos. Pacing of the movie, the tones of the movie, the comedy not being as good. Quite a bit. I didn't like quite a bit about the movie, actually. Thanos being able to fight the Trinity of Avengers without the Infinity Stones. Yeah, all of it. I actually didn't like most of it. There's a lot of stuff I do like emotionally, but yeah, as I think it's a really sloppy movie. And a lot of that probably has to do with the time travel element, but also just the tone of the movie I thought was all over the place. I should watch Cobra Kai, though. It's just, yeah, I don't have a lot of time to watch shows anymore, so something that I would like to watch, like Cobra Kai. I just don't. God damn it. Sorry, guys. I just exited out the chat. I feel bad, guys. Hold on. Whoops. Come on, chat. I have not seen Doom Patrol, but everyone keeps telling me it's great. Yeah, it just not being good as Infinity War upset me, and I also just don't think it was as good as, like, Winter Soldier or Iron Man. You know, just a lot. I was just disappointed. I thought it would be funnier and more dramatic, and I don't know, even the fight scenes. Like, the final 45 minutes had some good fight scenes. I liked all that, but I think it could have been a faster paced movie. I think they could have cut 25 minutes, a half hour, and I think they could have done something more clever with Thanos. And I think the time travel rules could have been handled a lot better. I love Don Bluth. All Dogs Go to Heaven. I adore Secret of NEM. Land Before Time. I'm a big Don Bluth fan. I own most of his movies too. I'm a big Don Bluth fan. I've him and Ralph Bakshi, big heroes of mine, actually. Even though Don Bluth made a lot of bad movies in the 90s, but he also did Anastasia. But yeah, I love him. I think he's a wonderful animator, and the fact he was able to beat Disney at their own game for a few years before Little Mermaid is really amazing. Yeah, it's just the pacing and this spontaneity of Infinity War and the comedy and the characters and the tension. I think maybe a lot of this had to do with it being the original Avengers cast and us not having a lot of Star-Lord. And these new characters like Doctor Strange. I think it's because it was such the core team that kind of also made it feel a little less epic. Yes, he did do Dragon's Lair. Yeah, you can always tell his animation style if you're familiar with it, if you're a fan. I already talked about it. I think I would have done it where Thanos regrets what he did and he actually teams up with the Avengers to go back in time to stop himself. because he's not happy with what he did, and he sees that it didn't work. It didn't make people happy. And he has to defeat an older version of himself. Or I would have had it that Thanos is alive with his hand cut off, and they kind of have him hostage or something. Maybe they don't kill him. And then at the end, he's able to break out and get the Infinity Gauntlet. All sorts of things. I don't know. I definitely feel it took a lot away at being past Thanos. Yeah, or maybe he separated the stones again, so it's not a time travel movie. It's them going over the galaxy looking for the stones. I get the time travel thing was set up so they could go back to like the greatest hits in Marvel, but really all we got was the original Avengers. Like, I did not want to go back to Thor: The Dark World, and I could give a fuck about what Hawkeye and Black Widow and War Machine and Nebula were doing. All that shit was boring as fuck and generic. There were so many cool, like, the only thing that was cool to me was going to see the Avengers and seeing scenes from a different point of view, like what happened after they beat Loki and captured him. All that was fun. Or the Hell Hydra elevator scene, that was all fun. If the whole time travel thing had been like that, I would have really gotten into it, but it wasn't. They could have done that all a lot better, actually. Yeah, the Thor: The Dark World shit, yeah. That was fucked. Oh, he also did Land Before Time, yeah. Forgot about that. Love Land Before Time. Not Land Before Time, The American Tale. An American Tale, yeah, Fievel, yeah. I love An American Tale. Where they're basically Jews. Yeah, so I love American Tale. All Dogs Go to Heaven, I think, is a classic. Really like Land Before Time, and I really like Secret of Nim. I mean, I dug the movie. Like, it was entertaining. It was an entertaining 3 hours. I guess the movie in my head was more awesome and more exciting and surprising. I really wasn't surprised. Mostly what happened is what I thought would happen. I was disappointed in how predictable it all was. Yeah, the Back to the Future Part 2. Yeah, it does turn into... The whole movie was trying to be very Robert Zemeckis-y Back to the Future, I felt, during that. I think this was like a mix of that and Joss Whedon's Avengers films, is what this felt like. Where I feel like the Russos were better off doing their own thing. What they were doing, I was enjoying so much more. I would love O.J. Simpson as a Terminator. Yeah, it is more Age of Ultron, man. Yeah, I feel that way. It did remind me of Age of Ultron, how messy it was, and how more generic it made everything feel, like how Age of Ultron did. The sense of awe was missing. Yeah. It got by on some really great acting, though. Like, Robert Downey Jr. was really great in the movie. And there was a lot of really good emotional payoffs. And I got to give the movie credit for that. That was there. Oh, dude, the Samurai Jack finale fucking breaks my goddamn heart. Especially after he came back in season 5 was amazing. Like, especially, like, episode 2. And by the time you get to episode 5, you're like, okay, he's introducing this love story. I'm not sure I feel about this. Then you get to the end and you're like, dude, really? After all these years? Yeah, the Samurai Jack finale was really fucking... I remember just watching it being like, really? Everything was rushed. That was a problem. A lot of things just felt wrapped up too quickly. Like with Samurai Jack. Same thing with Game of Thrones. Like the Night King, that's too fast. Endgame, it felt like everything got wrapped up too quickly at the end. Not enough was explained. Yeah, I've known art students who don't like Don Bluth's work. And I've gotten into arguments with them because I'm kind of an animation buff. And a lot of them shit on Don Bluth, and I get very upset about it. And they all just want to work for Pixar. Yeah, the first 4 episodes of Samurai Jack season 5 were like phenomenal. Like 10 out of 10 every single one of them, and then yeah, it all got rushed, even though it shouldn't have been rushed. It's just how you structure story. It's interesting, you can see that with stories, that you can have enough time and yet a story can still feel rushed, or you could have too little time and a story can still feel dragged out. It's that weird balance to find to make your story feel like it's being paced very well and not dragged out, or that things get too rushed. It's really how you set things up and you plan to pay them off. I would honestly say don't watch the new season of Samurai Jack, because you're going to end up being so disappointed, because it starts off so great. It starts off as like the best thing Gendy Tartakovsky ever's done, and then he just blows it, and it makes you like hate that he almost did this, because it kind of ruined Samurai Jack, which was one of my favorite things ever. I definitely prefer Deathly Hallows Part 2 over Endgame. I think Deathly Hallows Part 2 is a far better movie. I think the pacing is so much better. I think that like 2 hours and 10 minutes benefited it huge. I think the snake sequence, the Snape, and going back in time and the Prince's Tale, I think all that's amazing. There's this great shot where Daniel Radcliffe, Harry, pulls his face out. It's operatic. Yeah, there's not a lot of action, but there's so much like pathos and grandeur to it, and how it looks, and that they're back at Hogwarts, and just how emotional it all is. And that great scene with the 3 of them when Harry breaks the wand, that really should be the ending of the series. That's a great scene. And how great the acting is, and just the energy that like we have to get these last Horcruxes, and it's a run against the clock and all that. It's a very exciting movie. So I just prefer it in all those ways. I just think it's a tighter, more exciting movie, and more visually interesting than Endgame too. So yeah, I'm still on the Deathly also, Deathly Hallows 1 and 2 just had a better plot, quite frankly. The plotting was a lot better, and I think that obviously a lot of it comes from the books, even though that is one of her weaker stories. Where now with Endgame, I'm not so sure this Thanos Infinity War plot was really that good. I thought it was when I saw Infinity War, now I'm not so sure. Yeah, and that probably has something to do with them having the book material, I think. They were able to condense a big book down in a movie. This was all like original screenplay stuff and just some stuff from the comics. You know, I definitely think that was... I mean, I think this was my fear when they were shooting the movies. When they were shooting them back to back like this, I was scared this was going to happen. That the second movie wasn't going to have the energy of the first one. Because everyone's coming into the first one so excited, and I just don't think... But hey, we still have Infinity War. I still think Infinity War is great, and I'm going to rewatch it a bunch, so... This doesn't, like, make Infinity War any less of a great movie. There's nothing out right now that I love that I could think of. Barry, I take that back, Barry, Bill Hader. I did a review of the first season. I kind of found that show early, and now it's really built up hype, and it's kind of becoming like a little Breaking Bad, HBO's Breaking Bad. I've been watching that second season, and it's been great. And the third episode of that one, I think it was the third or the fourth episode, What? I don't like that they're not doing the fantasy sequences anymore. Instead, they're doing flashbacks to Barry's past life. But still, season 2 of Barry, even though all the pieces aren't fitting together as well as they did in the first season, the thematic stuff that goes off the stage, from the stage, and him being a hitman and his morality, that stuff's still great. It's still really funny. It's a little bit more of a drama now than it was in the first season. And I think it makes Barry a little less interesting as a character, but we'll have to wait to the finale. But for right now, I think Barry's the best show on TV. And also, HBO showed that Deadwood movie trailer before Game of Thrones. So we have the Deadwood movie coming, which I thought would never fucking happen. So, yeah, I'm surprised Shazam didn't do better either. It kind of just got lost in the shuffle. So, Deadwood's coming, and I'd highly recommend Barry by Alec Berg, who wrote on Seinfeld and created Silicon Valley. Barry's probably my favorite show on right now. And Mr. Robot's final season starts this year, which I'm a big fan of. But season 1 of Barry is tight. The final episode of season 1 of Barry could have been the series finale. It's so good. So that's what's going to make the other seasons a little tougher. But as of right now, I'm a really big fan of that show. And I like it a lot more than Game of Thrones. I'm actually just watching Game of Thrones out of obligation at this point. Yeah, I just praised the shit out of Captain Marvel. I didn't even give Captain Marvel a proper review. I didn't even go into anything in that review. That video was more made as just a way to, like, talk about how people were reacting to it and to make jokes. And use clips from Brie Larson. And just so I could use that clip from Chasing Amy, where he says there's one bitch with many faces. That was the only reason I made that video. I really didn't review Captain Marvel. That wasn't a review. That was just like a shit post. Because I wanted to make a video. Because I didn't care enough to even put effort into a Captain Marvel review, to be honest with you. I'm not gonna act like I just didn't care. Yeah, it is seeming that way, that everyone hates Brie Larson. It kind of makes me shocked that Captain Marvel ended up doing so well, really. Because I don't see anybody being so positive about her. What, you want me to rant? What do you want me to rant about? There hasn't been a classic Pat rant in a long time, is there? Yeah, I know. I love that everyone can hide it. I know, when you have to keep saying, am I saying I hate white guys that keep going, no, it's very clear that you do and you're insecure. She's just a very insecure person. I feel bad for Brie Larson. It's clear she's fucked up. Now that I think about her Twitter and how she reacts to Chris Hemsworth in that clip, she goes, I'll be my own self, thank you very much. She's like your boss at your job that's a really insecure woman that's trying to be a man, or what she thinks a male manager should be, and she just ends up acting like a cunt. And then when everyone starts disliking her because she's a cunt, she thinks it's because she's a woman and not because she's being bitchy, as if you wouldn't like an asshole man. She thinks it's just because she's a woman, but she's just being bitchy. And then she gets really insecure and upset because people don't like her, and she knows people don't like her, so it just makes her worse. And then it shows all of her worst qualities because she has this unearned confidence. I'll probably rant about Game of Thrones when the whole season's over. I did a season 7 review. I should have, if I was smart, because I was like watching live streams after episode was over, and there was like one live stream with 60,000 people watching it. Like Alt-Shift-X, and I was like, fuck, if I was smart, I would have done reviews for Game, because I talked about that last year, that I was going to do a review of every Game of Thrones episode and do a live stream after. If I had done that, I think I'd be really boosting subs, so... but I did a season 7 review. I guess I'll just do a whole season review, and I'll probably do a review for Barry season 2. But if I was smart, I'd be reviewing every episode of Game of Thrones, week by week. That would, if I was doing that, talking about Captain Marvel and Star Wars right now, I'd probably be at 15,000 subscribers. Yeah, even Brie Larson being hot. Like, I remember how hot she was in Scott Pilgrim. She doesn't seem hot anymore. Like, she was really sexy in Scott Pilgrim versus the World. And even in Room, she was really good looking. I mean, it was kind of hard to see her that way because this like, dude's raping her. But now, even as Captain Marvel, it's like, yeah, she has a pretty face, but just seeing how she even her expressions now and knowing who she is, she's just completely unlikable. I can't even see her. Look at her the same, like she's become ugly because she's an ugly person on the inside. And she's sort of disgusting to me now. And that's so odd because she's, yeah, and especially that like that one thing where she's answering the questions is like, is that supposed to be a personal insult or something? It's like, oh my god, she's that chick you go on a date with and you think it's going to be great because she's hot, and then you're sitting there with her and halfway into the date you're like, I do not want to put my dick in this chick's mouth, and you try to get out of it because you're horrified, and yet she's still somehow really persistent for you to like her even though she acts like she's better than you. I'm a big Sonic fan, actually, especially Sonic 3. I'm actually pretty good at Sonic 2. I can beat Sonic pretty fast. The first few Sonic games I can like speed run. I'm a really good Sonic player. Even though Sonic's kind of just memory of knowing what to do, it's not really a skill thing, but I can rip through Sonic. Yeah. Yeah, her flat body, her creepy eyes. Yeah, I agree with you guys. She's become... Yeah, she looks ugly now. I don't know how it happened. She looks ugly now. It's weird. It's like she actually transformed. Where Scarlett Johansson looked beautiful in Endgame. I think she's looked more beautiful than she has in years. I thought she looked really bad in Infinity War. But yeah, her nose and everything, her cheekbone, she looked really good. And she's been looking really cute. You know, that's a truly beautiful woman. She definitely does seem to be a narcissist. I don't like to diagnose people. Everyone diagnoses everybody today. Everyone's a narcissist, but she does really come off like a narcissist, I gotta say. I do see that. Alright guys, American Werewolf video is coming. Hopefully we can get another beef stew up. I'll try to do some Game of Thrones videos, get that clickbait life going. And gotta get David Stewart on here and see where we go from there. But the story is, beyond anything, Avengers Endgame. After all these years of build-up, whether or not you like the movie or not, none of that matters. Anthony Joe Russo, Robert Downey Jr., Kevin Feige, everyone's come together. Jon Favreau deserves a lot of credit for this. He's got Lion King coming out. Here we are with the biggest opening of all time, the biggest movie of all time. Is here right now, people. So even no matter how we feel about the movie, we all got to experience this together and go through this event together. And we'll tell people years from now, like, hey, we were there when the big movie came out. You know? And I guess you have to take it as a whole, the MCU getting to experience it. It was a big moment for our generation. I think the previous decade, it was Harry Potter, was the cultural moment. I think this decade is definitely Marvel. And probably Game of Thrones. But just for everybody, because Game of Thrones definitely has a niche appeal. That not everybody likes content out like that. For kids and everything involved, little kids. I remember taking my nephew to go see the first Captain America when he was like 6. And it was one of the first movies he ever saw in the theater. And then made me think about movies I went to go see in the theater when I was a kid. And that this was like, these were the heroes now. These were the new characters for these kids. And they're being reintroduced to them. So there's something really powerful about this. And beautiful. And I have no ill will towards this. You know I love the box office. I love surprises. This is something that I never thought was possible. That a movie could open to 357 million, at least in my lifetime. So take that for what it is. As someone who's been looking at the box office ever since they were a kid, I never thought I would see this. So for a lot of people, it's like, I never thought I would see this movie with all these characters and all this happening. For me, it's like, I never thought I'd see this opening weekend. So that makes Box Office Addict 78 very special. This actually would have been episode 80 had I not skipped the last couple weeks. So really, this is episode 80 in my eyes. So 80, 357. There you go. Disney still at the top. Marvel reigns supreme. They say Wakanda forever, but really, it's Marvel forever. And goodbye, Mr. Downey. Thank you for taking us on this journey with you. And now he has $13 billion worldwide that his movies have made collectively. Look how many films this guy's been in that's made over $1 billion. Insanity. 6. Remember when it was a big deal when Johnny Depp was in like 2 movies that made $1 billion? But yeah, that's it. Avengers Endgame, the biggest opening of all time. Enjoy it while it lasts, people. Enjoy it while it lasts, because eventually I feel like openings being this big will be so commonplace that the novelty will really wear off. Sort of like the $200 million opening is wore off. Anyway, if you're a fan of Box Office Addict, you're probably a box office addict yourself. And I'm not here to help you with that addiction. I'm here to encourage it. So, yeah, Alex, you would like Game of Thrones. Just watch like the first 3 seasons and then stop watching it. But thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I really miss you guys. And I'm sorry this didn't have a lot of humor and was a high energy episode, but I was coming off a nap. And I kind of just wasn't ready to do this, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. And there was really only one movie to talk about. But yeah, this is an end of an era. The Ex Machina analysis will come at some point. When, I don't know. I'll probably work on that soon, honestly. Probably when Terrible Lizard gets back. Because the American Werewolf video, I have all the footage for it. I have the whole movie downloaded, basically. But I'm waiting for Terrible Lizard to get a new editor, so when he comes back, I might do the Ex Machina analysis. But if you want to watch me do a review for that movie, there's a review of it for this channel on Last Call Reviews. But, thanks, guys. I am Please Rewind.